Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, July 10th, 2021, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So today is going to be the last show before the summer hiatus. We've got second half of 2021 information on tap today. So we'll talk about those things and just generally chat a bit about upcoming things. I know there's a few gaming things I want to talk about. Things to highlight in the upcoming, the Monster and Treasure assortment. I was just digging through this yesterday and thinking about some things, and I want to talk about the possibility of running a few online games in a pseudo Greyhawkian vein of first level. Out of we discussed this once before. Doesn't highlight very well in the with the green screen because there's green on the cover, but we'll talk about that a little bit too. So summer hiatus, 3 weeks, 1, 2, 3. That means I'll be back on August 2nd in the second half of 2021. We'll just be doing Mondays at 10 a.m. No Thursday show for the second half, which means quantifiably we'll do 20 shows on Mondays starting August 2nd, going through December 17th, when we will take our winter break, which usually lasts, well, last time it lasted, usually, one time before it, we did it. We'll go to, we'll go 4 weeks into January. I'm not exactly sure what date that will be, but it's a long way off, so I don't think we have to worry about it too much. If we go keep doing shows until the 13th of December, not the 17th, the 13th, that'll be 20 shows, 20 Mondays for the second half. I call it half. I did 50 shows in the first half. Now I'm only doing 20 in the second. Lazy bum. The store's opening, well, the store's open back up. They're bringing me back on board next week, so I got to be stingy with my time as far as the show's concerned so that I can do a good job at the store. You know, make sure I'm not doing a half-assed job at both. So if we go to the 13th, 20 weeks off, it'd be the 20th, 27th, 3rd, would probably be back on the 10th unless we come back on the 17th. That actually feels better. So maybe we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 Mondays off. So it'd be a 5-week break into December, January. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it then. Maybe everything will collapse before then. Maybe we'll be up to our eyeballs in the next pandemic, so we'll have to have more shows just to help me keep my sanity. I don't know. Lots of options. Lots of options. Find out who this is here. The summer hiatus, 3 weeks, right? So we'll be back on August 2nd. Second half, we've outlined what the shows will be. But what will they be about? Because ostensibly we were doing in-game and out-of-game for the Monday and Thursday, and I don't know that that really held fast and true for the Monday and the Thursday shows. I think for the most part we just kind of kept that kind of loose. a lot of discussion went one way or the other, despite what the show was meant to ostensibly be. So we'll see what happens. Mondays, they're just going to be shows. They're going to be first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons centric, and sometimes they'll be about, or at least be partially about, whatever I'm running at the time. I've just started up a campaign which will run a couple times a month. I'm still playing in a regular OD&D game with the inimitable Dirk Collins, and that's a blast. But we'll have to see if that's going to be continuing. Need a little more light on here, huh? The real thing to consider is how much rules stuff have we exhausted. Well, we never really exhaust the Dungeon Master's Guide, but I think we need to spend a little more time in a few other areas, such as, well, we talked about doing more with the Wilderness Survival Guide, right? So there are a lot of subsystems. They're not hard and fast rules. To use that phrase once more, they're not core rules for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but there's a lot of nifty subsystems in there, and we've glanced at a few, but I don't see any reason why we can't go through more of them. Even if you don't use those rules in there or in the Dungeoneer's Survival Guide, uh, even if you don't wind up using them, just for having read them, I almost guarantee you will be a better AD&D player and a better AD&D dungeon master for having read through both of those. So if you can pick them up on the cheap somewhere and don't have them already, definitely add them to the collection. You can do that as a player, of course, but don't beat your dungeon master over the head if that dungeon master is not using them. They're not required, but they may make the game more interesting for you as a player to evaluate risk on different adventures, with a sense of what the earliest players were using as sort of statistical analysis, a breakdown of that into subsystems for the various aspects of the game. Why is climbing a wall this percentage? Why is it that thieves can climb walls and other character classes really aren't cut out for it, except in the loosest of terms? Because anybody can just try to climb something, right? But how good? How good are you at something? If you never do any rock climbing and you go to a gym or a club where they have a rock climbing wall and you give it a shot, you'll realize first how horribly out of shape you are, if you're me, or how much less strength you have in not just your upper body, but more specifically just in your fingers and hands, because You know, you could have the strongest bicep in the world, but if your fingers can't keep a grip on something, you're dropping off. And I talk about climbing because it's on the cover of this particular book, so it obviously plays in. Who's this guy, by the way? I've got to say, that guy's hanging on for dear life. And he's not a goblin. He's clothed. He's got a hat on, unlike these uh, hide-wearing. I call them goblins. I think they're goblins. They look like what I imagine as goblins. But this little guy swinging a dagger and hanging on to his buddy. Is he a halfling? Is he smaller than a halfling? Is he a gnome? Gnomes are usually a little taller than halflings, I think, in AD&D at least. He doesn't look like he gets much higher than a kneecap, which would put him 2 foot tall. Maybe he's a small halfling. Perhaps he's a brownie. Hard to say. Your guess is as good as mine. Make sure you let me know what you think next time you chime in on a making a video comment. Just say, I think the guy hanging onto the leg is a boom. Mention what you think and we'll see how it goes. Maybe if I get a preponderance of answers in one direction or another, we'll declare it officially. I suppose if we were to check the credits, and I don't want to just guess, Dungeoneer Survival Guide. Let me pull up my PDF. What are halflings half of? I think it's a shrunken human, says Sarah. Well, it's true. They are half in stature relative to a human. It's a Jeff Easley cover illustration. We could ping Jeff on Facebook and double check what he thinks the answer to that is. And it may be long enough ago that he's not completely sure. What about that snake off to the side? To the right. And a spider, too. But I say these are goblins. And I say this is his halfling pal who's hanging on, hoping that the fighter will just leave the sword in its scabbard and get over top of the rock already before more of them jump on you, you knucklehead. Anywho, that's my thoughts on it. Well, part of what we're going to do, I think, over the break, I shouldn't promise anything. I'm going to be busy at the store. I've got a campaign that's just starting up with Sarah and some other folk. Alan, Dave, Daniel, and Yoda Dave. So I'm going to be pretty busy with those. But what I'd like to try to do is go over how much of the last year and 3 months, right? March 2020 we started all this. March 26th, I think, was the first show. I want to go over the shows and figure out if I missed any portions of the Dungeon Master's Guide. I know there will be parts of it which I glossed over and specifically did that on purpose. And there will be parts of it where I took a second look at a couple of specific things when they came up more recently, things that I had looked at long ago. But I want to see if there's anything that I missed that I definitely want to cover. Try to get that added into the second half. I'd like to maybe put a playlist or 5 together to, hey Rick, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in. Put a playlist or 5 together on the YouTube channel that deals with sections of the Dungeon Master's Guide, maybe just one playlist just for all of the appendices shows in order. Things like that. And there's obviously a number of them where I took a section and it took me multiple shows. Spell explanations most recently was a good example. Put some playlists together that break it down into those different areas. I mean, I could put one playlist together with all the in order based on the table of contents stuff from the DMG, but that would be a one huge playlist, and you would might as well just watch all the shows. I mean, it's what's the point of a playlist if it's not a more targeted selection? So we'll do that probably in the process of looking over the DMG to figure out what I've actually finished, what I have done shows on, and what maybe I missed. We'll see if we can squeeze in a couple of shows out of the 20 in the second half of 2021 to pick up the loose ends and talk about the game I'm running. Maybe some more specific things as they come to me or as people ask about them over the second half. We'll obviously want to highlight some conventions coming up. Gen Con's going to be happening in September. You've got Online Autumn Revel, Autumn Wars, which is a Little Wars, Historical Miniatures Gaming Society Midwest convention, kind of the sister convention of Little Wars, their main convention, which happens in the spring. Autumn Wars happens in the autumn, and that's obviously going to be face-to-face because it's a miniatures convention, and it's one of the few things that doesn't, gaming-wise, that doesn't adapt well to online play. But I think Autumn Revel, which is Gary Con's autumn convention, is going to happen, and I'm pretty sure that's happening just online. Or maybe they're going to skip it this year and wait until 2022 to get back to that. But Greyhawk Con, which is an online convention started by Jay Scott, the excellent Lord Gasumbo, will be definitely doing that convention this fall online. So, and that's what I was talking about with this. You know, we did a show about this supplement, or at least I mentioned it, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Pack 1. It is a whole pile of adventures. I think there's like a dozen plus adventures in here. It was 1987. So it's still pre-second edition, although with a lot of stuff kind of preceding second edition that was put into Dragon Magazine that was sort of testing the waters for various systems and changes they were going to make to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. It is definitely the case that some of that stuff will filter into. It won't be too noticeable in adventures, because generally speaking, if there's something they want you to do specifically that is beyond the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition rules, they'll mention it in the write-up to whatever it is. And I don't have any specific examples of that, but that's just a general observation then. But this is chock full of various adventures, and it might be fun to run one of these, since ostensibly they're in Greyhawk somewhere. So it would be fun to, I don't know, attack a boat with a Kraken? Would that be fun? Sure. Everyone enjoys a good Kraken Assault. These are all over different levels and stuff. I don't know. I like running my own stuff mainly because I just know stuff better, obviously, when I create it myself and then run it than if I read somebody else's stuff. And, you can read it a bunch of times and still misread something and then not run it to spec. No, to the right specifications. You can run something or misread something multiple times just because you misread it the first time, and now every time you read it going forward, your mind has already been tricked into believing it should be read in a certain way, and so you just keep doing it. It's tough. But that doesn't mean you necessarily ruin the whole adventure by misreading some small part. But you never know. So, anyway, there's a possibility. I mean, it's coming up fast. I'm not sure if I'll have time to prepare for it. A lot of what they do is Greyhawk with a 5th edition rule set presumed. There are a number of writers who are old Greyhawk fans who write adventures for 5th edition set in the world of Greyhawk, and they get around the legal copyright/trademark issues by being the ones who run them themselves. If you can run your own adventure and use any of that stuff. They can't sell it, they can't distribute it without permission. Not that they couldn't get permission. I'm not sure how hard they tried. Maybe that's not even something they're interested in doing. Perhaps they could sell them through the DM's Guild with some sort of caveat. But I'm not sure that any of the material that they use from Greyhawk is available to use even in DM's Guild 5th edition offerings. So that might be tricky. But they're running them themselves. They're running them during a convention. All bets are off. They can do that. And they have a number of people that go there that are former Wizards people or definitely longtime Greyhawk people. They do the live Twitch streaming events all throughout that convention. So you'll see them running games, and they'll get people that are Greyhawk luminaries like Eric Mona, and even they'll get Luke Gygax in on a game. So you get a lot of good times if you're somebody who just enjoys that as a sort of a vicarious gaming entertainment. If you like watching folks play games as an entertainment, those are some good ones to watch. If you're a Critical Role fan, they're not professional actors. They don't do voices like the Critical Role folk do and stuff like that. To that degree, there'll be some, but they're more I don't know, dare I say, gamers like us, just having fun and being longtime gamers. So maybe they know the rules a little better than the folks that are doing it on those other venues. Worth checking out, though. And, absolutely. Run some games, play some games, have some fun. And hopefully people... I know Gen Con's going to be a lot smaller this year. That'll be in person. I think it's going to take up less of the space, have a much smaller footprint. I'd heard they were limiting it to like 35,000, which I think is about half of what they used to have. And I don't think it's a social distancing thing. It's a space management thing where they've only got so much of a footprint. And presumably they want as many people as they can get. It is a moneymaker after all, so they must have about half the space if they're allowing about half the people max. So see how that goes. Anyway, Clock on the Wall says it's about time. I will see you in 3 weeks. August 2nd, Monday, August 2nd, I'll be streaming again at 10 a.m. going forward through the second half of 2021. Monday only shows. I'll be busy on Thursdays, so I don't want to promise to do 2 shows in the second half. We'll see. Maybe that'll change for 2022. And still half-hour streaming. Still first edition stuff. It'll be same show going forward. I just like doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it. All right, Rick, see you at the store. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe tonight for drafting, Monday Night Draft. If you like playing Magic, stop by Lake Geneva Games for the 6 o'clock show or the 6 o'clock event. Sarah, good to see you again. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody, of course, who tunes in and checks things out. I do appreciate it. If you do check out the stream on Twitch, by all means, do us a favor and also follow the Twitch stream and chime in on the chat on the Twitch stream while you're here. I'd appreciate it. If not, you can always catch things on YouTube. We upload the show usually within the same hour, and if you go to YouTube and check out all the archives we have there of past shows, I think there's over 300 at this point. I think there were 250 plus in 2020, and we've done, with this right here, 51 shows since the new. So please do go to YouTube, check out the show, subscribe to the channel over there, click the little bell. That'll get you updates anytime we upload a new show. Give us a thumbs up on shows you enjoy and watch. And please do feel free to make some comments if you want to chime in on some theme we're talking about or suggest something for upcoming shows. We'd appreciate it. It's all good. And once again, I'll just say at closing, thank you very much for a great first half of 2021. I appreciate everybody who checks out the show. I will return August 2nd with a half hour, and we'll be doing Mondays going forward for the second half of 2021. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.